Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Scientists in Antarctica have unearthed 4 strange black sarcophagi etched with symbols emitting heat. Global teams are baffled. What's inside? Ooh, this is good. We got to follow these guys. Antarctica news. By the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, do check out our Patreon exclusive videos that go up usually several times each week. Again, it's a wonderful family over there, and you can join that family for as little as $1 a month. There are different tiers with different benefits as well. And the 2 higher tiers, Evolutionary and Archangel Patreon, include a monthly meeting with us. So also do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com to learn more about what we do when we're not doing videos, which is basically, just fun stuff. Energy work, biofield tuning, Vedic astrology, helping others learn about human potential and how they could take control of their own lives instead of relying on the system to take care of them.
Indeed.
So, yes, there's an article here which comes out of MSN, which is referring to this article here. And ultimately, these sources all trace back to Russia. There are some that are looking at this with skepticism, yet I would too initially, but then Cindy starts coming out with these golden nuggets coming directly from the guides with her connection again to the Galactic Federation and others. It's like a quick verification or negation of different bits and tidbits of news and info that comes through. All of a sudden, she's saying, there's actually something to this. So let us look at the article here. Scientists discovered mysterious sarcophagi in Antarctica, giving a threatening message? International expedition discovered artifacts of unknown origin on the icy continent, raising many questions in the scientific community. During research work in Antarctica, an international group of scientists from the USA, Russia, China, and India made an astonishing discovery: 4 unusual black sarcophagi. Upon opening one of the mysterious objects, researchers encountered an even more enigmatic finding. Inside the sarcophagi was a hot, metallic cylinder covered with thin lines. For safety reasons, the scientists decided to return the sarcophagi to the place of discovery. Amongst the proposed hypothesis, special attention was drawn to the version of a Chinese researcher who suggested these objects might function as blockers of signals emanating from Earth, thereby protecting the planet from possible invasion from the outside. Wow! Well, if you guys have been following us for a long time, you know that we have shared that you are actually behind enemy lines. The enemy has taken over planet Earth. Now, that happened a long time ago. We are talking about thousands of years ago. The evidence is all around us that they have not only infiltrated planet Earth, but they took it over completely. And what we have now is a dark matrix control system to suppress the knowledge of the fact that our Earth was taken over by non-terrestrial beings thousands of years ago. The event that we know as the Younger Dryas Period Extinction Event, which wiped out in some areas 60% of all life, and wiped out is credited with wiping out the megafauna in North America. Well, that was actually an attack on the planet. And so we've done so many different videos talking about the gods return, as this one is 6 years old. Return of the Gods, Anunnaki, Ancient and Shining Ones, Nibiru, the Book of Enoch, Ragnarok. What is all this about? Why did they stop this Anunnaki movie? Because they stopped it. This movie was going to be out. We would all be probably referring to it as either a dud or really cool, but we never got a chance to because they stopped it and they never ever released it. Why? Because it's touching too close on the actual truth? Oh yeah, many people recognize and realize there's a lot of different ET races out there. And in fact, Cindy being the open channel that she is, we've actually gotten messages from the Anunnaki. And again, they view this planet as a resource. And they view humanity as their creation, and they, intend to do with humanity what they will. It's always been their intent. Yet again, there are thankfully other beings out there. So, if you look at an article like this, and it says that this potentially is blocking signals and trying to protect the Earth from alien invasion, then maybe what they're talking about is this is there to keep the system intact and to protect the system against good guys helping to free humanity. Just a thought there.
This was interesting. Mike read the first sentence, and I stopped for a moment and asked, well, is it true? And the answer came back, yes, it's true. And I said, well, what is it for? What does it do? And the guides, they told me, in the best of my understanding, when this thing heats up to a certain degree, there's hieroglyphs around it. And these hieroglyphs, I hope I'm using the right word, they heat up, and this creates a certain vibration around the sarcophagus, which then creates immortality in some way. So I found that to be very, very interesting. It creates a different type of environment. So it's not something that you would really tinker with. It's not something. So I'm also not getting that they moved it and moved it back. No, this isn't something that they could move. So I feel like so much of this story is just a cover. It's very much a cover, because
it's a disclosure. They have to, again, there's so much that has to be disclosed. It's up to us to find the truth.
It is. So we have to look. We have to actually look and then allow the information to come to us so that we understand. But this is significant that it's even been able to be found or even mentioned on a news article. So this is significant. This is the Bronze Age, and this is when they are no longer able to cover things up, but they're still going to try. They're still going to try and say something like this isn't true. This is just, a story. There is a problem when it comes to taking pictures. The pictures are not coming out clear, and it's just.
Is it because of energy coming off of it?
It's because of the energy that's emanating off of it. So that's the other thing. And if they are ever able to get a picture out, I would definitely question it.
Yeah, this is really fascinating. Again, we're going to have total disclosure. Well, we already do have total disclosure for those that are, paying attention. Yeah, absolutely. And it's only in the darkest of the dark age that we ever had the crazy notion that we're alone in all this, that there's no other life out there, there's only the Earth. And that is truly an insane line of thinking to put out there. It goes against all logic and reasoning. Yet again, there is a reason why there's lead in the water. There's a reason why there's fluoride in the water. There's a reason why there's all sorts of aluminum and barium that is making it hard for people to think clearly. And then again, people get addicted to junk food and even simple things like Coke and Pepsi, which have nanites in them. At least it's been reported that there's nanites. And from our sources of information, yeah, absolutely. That is the case. Everything about this system is about keeping humans dumbed down and not getting the bigger picture. And so, most of humanity has still been following these fairy tales that they give us. And again, it's a great awakening is what's happening. And, it's understandable that people have been sleepwalking like zombies. It is, after all, a zombie apocalypse. Apocalypse means unveiling and showing. It's the time when the curtain gets pulled away and you see the almighty and powerful Wizard of Oz for who he really is. You get to see who, the beings that gave us the Old Testament really, really are, as that's how they introduced themselves to us. And then also our friend Dr. Joe, who was doing similar work with his good friend Terry, who is also a channel like Cindy. Again, when you look to the Law of One and all the information that came from the Law of One, which was also acquired by channeling, they talk about the Orion group. Who is this Orion group? Again, these are extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings, and also, it's almost not fair to categorize some of these beings as that, because some of them have made their home here on Earth since it was salvaged from the remnants of Tiamat. So they've been here as long as anybody. And when we're talking about those beings that live inside the Earth, then we're talking about ancient reptilian beings, like, again, the Nagas and other reptilians that live inside the Earth. Again, the Earth is much bigger than what we're told. This is why when you have flat earthers say the Earth is flat, because, look, you would have more curvature if the Earth was only what they tell us, in diameter. And the reality is the science doesn't work. Well, the answer to that question is the numbers don't work because the Earth is many times bigger than what they tell us. We only are seeing a very small portion of the planet. We only have access to a very small portion of the planet. There was this horrible airplane crash in India. We send prayers and love and healing to the families there and all the beings that have again found that they're not in their bodies. And this is the thing, we are already eternal beings. We are consciousness that cannot be created or destroyed. Who is your maker? You don't really have a maker. You are your maker, so to speak. You are a fractal of the one source, the one infinite consciousness that is all that there truly, truly is, having an experience as an individuated unit of consciousness, i.e. you are a fractal. A fractal contains the totality of the whole in a minute form. And that is what you are. You're here exploring, learning, growing. So what happens when something like this airplane crash happens? All of a sudden, many beings find themselves out of the body. It happens so quick. There can be disorientation. There can be confusion. And sometimes, like when you have cases of hauntings, again, it's leftover impressions of a usually a very traumatic origin that imprint on an area. And it could actually imprint also on other beings and even objects, the energies of the trauma of that event. When you go to Gettysburg, there's still ghosts walking the battlefield, still confused, all this time later. Absolutely. You cannot lose your consciousness per se, but you can certainly get lost in your consciousness, in your mind. That's a reality. And we can be disoriented. So again, we send our prayers and best wishes, as it seems that they're leaning over towards pilot error right now, as opposed to mechanical issues. Boeing has had a lot of mechanical issues. There's been a lot of flights going down. It's part of the bigger picture, which again, we've shared years ago, that at some point in the not too distant future, you won't see humans on Earth traveling in airplanes like we do now, thousands of flights a day. No, we're coming to the end of, we already are past the end of the Kali Yuga, but we're coming to the end of the age in which all our old belief systems truly exist. As again, the curtain's being pulled away, we're going to realize that we were manipulated through our belief systems, through our dogma, through our political ideologies. They were all given to us by this one system that has kept control of us through division.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even those things that we think we understand, those things that we came to believe to be true, are kind of in a position where we have to re-question our beliefs. So, what I do is I try to remain teachable, and I leave myself in a place where I can receive information, because once you feel like, okay, there's no more information to be received, I have this answer and this is what I believe to be true, there's no room for any further information, even if it's going to expand you out in different ways. So our vibration has definitely changed. And with our vibration changing, that's going to change our perspective. But if we just kind of put a lid on it and say, I know this to be true, well, we're really selling ourselves short. So we need to remain in a place where our hearts are open for deeper understanding, and our minds and our bodies are just, we're in a completely different place now. So we just need to keep that in mind. And it's an important place wherever you are at. That's very, very important. So accepting yourself for where you're at and who you are and what you do is just something that we should all do, I think.
So, this is from Pravda, and this is talking about the same thing. It's giving a little bit more elaboration. Again, says 2018. Oh, okay, so it's way back in 2018. Scientists from 4 countries in Antarctica, United States, Russia, China, and India discovered 4 black sarcophagi with sinister secret hidden. So this was actually years ago is what we discovered here. But again, we have shared with you guys in so many of these videos. We also shared in you, well, this you could actually literally see. You see that glowing being? That is a jinn, and that is the true reality. There are beings that absolutely can appear as fire, shimmering light. There's all sorts of different beings. There are many beings. Most beings that exist even on this planet are not visible to us. It's just like a radio. You turn the dial and you get new ones that come into focus and other ones that go out of focus. But we did, talk about the potential return of the Anunnaki, and that is something that Cindy has also channeled info from these kids from the future. And all these videos are on Evolutionary and EE Arts for the most part, and also on Patreon. Again, there's exclusives on Patreon that go up each week. And typically that's where we give the new finds first over on Patreon. So, what's going on is that you are in this intergalactic, interdimensional war that has been going on from, as best as we can ascertain, probably the equivalent of millions of Earth years. So it truly is much more like Star Wars than people will imagine. Do you remember when all those leaders were going down to Antarctica? There was supposed to be some fines and stuff. I wonder if this has anything to do with that. As again, going back to the time when Hillary and Trump were running against each other, or apparently running against each other. You had the Eastern Orthodox head of that church going down. You had that Pope going down at that period in time. We had John Kerry going down. We had Obama going down. We had Putin going down to Antarctica. Why do they all go down to Antarctica? Well, because again, that's the last land that we see and we're allowed to see before you get to the lands that we're not allowed to go to. And what you have here is, again, talking about incredible power. It's like, remember Raiders of the Lost Ark with the Nazis really chasing these artifacts? That's really real. And the Nazis actually did work with Greys and what we would call fallen Pleiadians. Again, the fallen angel theory is, again, a cover-up to the fact that there's extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, and also what I think is best described as ultra-terrestrials. These are beings that do exist on Earth, either under the oceans or, again, inside the Earth itself, as we do, here on the surface, but are far more advanced than us in technology. Forbidden. We are forbidden. This is Jordan Crowder, who does follow us over on X. And, he wonders, again, is this just a cover story? Is this just a BS story? But he says, the only reason I share this, because there's other credible sources that speak about the old gods whose bodies are in stasis, Yes, we have gotten that too. They are there are beings that are being awakened from stasis, and in fact, some sources say that we are literally just maybe months away, at most maybe 2 years away, from you on TV being introduced to beings that are not Homo sapiens sapiens. By the way, Homo sapiens sapiens is the current version of humanity that we're familiar with.
The current version, just current version. But I think this is fun because you get different channelers coming forward with different information, giving their perspective of the information that came to them. So when you have this type of communication with other channels, you can start putting puzzle pieces together. And I think that's very, very important that we work together to figure these things out.
Work together, share the love, keep working on raising your frequency. Understand that this is a frequency war. When they're talking spiritual warfare, you're talking frequency. Understand also that when we're talking things that we're taught, like, fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom. Well, fear is an extremely low vibrational frequency. So if you're full of fear, you're not rising up. You're still in their control.
Indeed.
Absolutely. And again, guys, thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys. Much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.